Hey, I got a great case study today. This is the best weekday or time to email your list based on a subject line. This is some work that I did for an actual client, and there were so many cool things along the way that I said this really should be a video. We're taking real data coming from their email list sending software, which had a date and time field, converting that to date, time, weekday, and part of day using a sort of rare VLOOKUP, true, using AI to group very similar email subject lines, checking those results. Shoot, there's no DAX. So I ended up creating 3 pivot tables to do the calculations, and then 2 things that look like pivot tables for the report. I had to go back to something that Deborah and Textures taught me, 12 years? Like, it's only the second time I've ever changed this setting in a pivot table in decades. Conditional formatting heat map, and then the great trick from Tina at Zebra, filters to allow deep dives into the data. So those are 3 more pivot tables just with a filter field. And then in case someone chooses multiple items, a 7th pivot table. Then to make all those 7 pivot tables in sync, we're going to tie together using slicers and show you how to use a drill down for details. And then 3 uses of GroupBy to show the most popular subject lines. It's a long video, but fun things all along the way. Let me show you the finished product so you understand where we're headed. This is a final report. So we have open rate by weekday and time of day, and then click-through rate by weekday and time of day. That's the goal, the printer report. But behind the scenes, we have 3 extra pivot tables down here to make it work. We have a spot where we can drill down to see the details behind this. And then different filters here, right? So we can go for, just show me the, any one item or multiple items, and get that report updated. So we can say, if we're going to send this, when's the best time and day? Like, when are these open a lot, right? And we have subject lines. We also have grouped those using artificial intelligence into similar categories. So it's funny, as this was real data. This was a real client data. And you see that over the 3.5 years, like, someone added an emoji or they just tiny little tweaks, but it's the same basic offer, right? So artificial intelligence helped me get that. And then they were already grouped into campaigns by the email software, right? So we have that. Then I realized, what if someone chooses multiple items? So we come in here and choose both weekend and 1 slice. I don't know. Then my report up here is saying multiple items, right? Thanks, Microsoft. I had this argument with them back in, 2007. Like, this is not helpful. So out here on the right-hand side, just like whatever you've selected here, here's a list of all the items, campaigns, categories, and subject lines that are in multiple items when you select that. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so here's what we have. And by the way, I've changed all this data for Hank's Pizza from the commercial rather than the client data. 2,200 rows of data that spans from 2022 to 2026 of years of data. A lot of email marketing that Hank is doing here. Scheduled date, total sent, unique opens, unique clicks. They calculate the click-through rate, which we're not going to use. I suppose we could add something for opt-outs, like what emails do we send that really anger people to get them to opt out of our list? And then they had a campaign name out here that came from, it looks like this is coming from SalesForce. Okay, but I'm sure that just about any mailing system would have something similar. And the original question that came to me was, hey, I have this scheduled date which has date and time. How do I break that into just date or just time? So a couple of useful formulas here. This scheduled date is a date serial number and then a fractional portion of a day. So to get rid of the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for the integer function. Give me just the integer of that whole thing. And I'm probably going to have to reformat it as a date. It probably originally gave me just a integer. Like if it comes in as general, it's going to just show up as that number, 44888. So you'll want to come here to this drop down and change it to a short date or something like that. Double click to copy it down. All right, now there's fancy ways to get the time out of here, like using the mod function or something like that. But really, we have scheduled date and date right next to us. It'd be really easy just to come here and say, hey, I want to take the scheduled date and subtract the date, and that gets me just the time portion. And again, this is going to come in as general. It's going to show up as a decimal like that. Go to this drop down and choose a time. Double click to copy that down. Right? So that's the date and time. And as time went by, we said, well, we really don't want to see this by date. We want to see this by weekday. Function I just love. This is such a versatile function, the text function, which says take that date, and we're going to format it in this numeric formatting code. In quotes, I'm going to put DDDD. That spells out the day of the week like that, Wednesday. Now, it would also be possible to put 3 Ds and just get the 3-digit abbreviation. But I don't know. I went with the 4 Ds to get the whole thing. All right, good. I want to break this time of day up into, like a day part. Okay, so I just need to build a little table, and I'm going to put that table on another worksheet. I'll call this time lookup. And you want to think about like the times of day. So I'm going to say starting at midnight. It has to start at the lowest number here, starting at midnight and going up to 6 a.m. Like that's kind of our late night or overnight if we're sending anything. And then I want to get people before they go to work, so going up to 8 a.m. And then let's say during the morning, so noon, and then in the afternoon, 4 p.m. And then I think there's this magical time, like during dinner, like sending things, at 4 o'clock, they're still at work, but they're starting to think about what are we going to do for dinner. And so from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., and then from 8 p.m. on to 11:59 p.m., right? So these are the start of the category, but it's hard to think about this. Like, so I want to have a friendly name here. I'll call it day part. And okay, you see that I've created friendly names, 12 to 6 a.m., 6 to 8 a.m., 8 a.m. to noon. And I've added these letters out here to make sure that they sort into the right sequence when we put it in the pivot table, right? So this little lookup table here is going to make our lives easier. I'm going to give this a name, and I'll just call it part of day. So I'm clicking in the name box to the left of the formula bar. You're not allowed to have any spaces here, so just type part of day all as one word and press enter. Okay, so that gives us a little lookup table that we can use back here. We'll come back to our data and say equal VLOOKUP. And we want to look up this particular time into part of day. I want the second column. And here's the thing that almost all VLOOKUPs end in comma false or comma 0 because we want an exact match. But in this case, we're trying to find like the portion of the day, the range of the day. So we put a true here, and we'll do a little test to make sure that this works. So there we go. 1:38 is noon to 4 p.m. Double click to copy that down. Let's just test another one. Here's a morning, 8 a.m. to noon. All right, that looks great. Here's one just after 4 o'clock, so that's in the 4 to 8 p.m. These are kind of rare, these VLOOKUPs that we're using comma true. At least I hardly ever use them. It's important to remember that, especially with a VLOOKUP, we have to make sure that this is sorted ascending. These have to start at the earliest time, at like midnight, and be sorted ascending, or they won't work. Had I used XLOOKUP, that would not have been an issue, but in this case, I just decided to go with VLOOKUP. All right, so there, we've solved our first problem, converting date and time to date, time, weekday, and part of day. Anytime I get to look at some new data that I've never seen before, I'm always interested in just some basics. 2201 is the last row down here. So we have 2,200 records. But like, how many different unique subject lines have there been? If we ask for equal count A of the unique of this list, I'll press Control Shift up arrow, and then what is that? Shift down arrow to get rid of the subject line heading. There's 156 different email subjects. So Hank is reusing things from week to week, apparently. But I realized, like, if I would sort this data alphabetically, data A to Z, and really look at it, you see that there's your weekend pizza deal, and then your weekend pizza deal with some emojis after it, right? These are probably very similar email pitches, right? Just whether the emoji's in there, and maybe that's important to see emoji versus non-emoji, but I think it would be really interesting to see this whole thing as a group. If we're doing your weekend pizza deal, whether we've added the emoji or not, these all are going to have similar open rates. I would think. To try and put those together, I came out to artificial intelligence to do that. I wanted a list of all of the items, so equal unique the subject lines. And I think on the day that I was doing this, I actually hadn't sorted it yet, so I would have to sort the whole thing to get the sort of the unique, right? And that gives me a list of 156 items that I want to try and combine into similar offers. You know, I ended up calling these categories. So I'm going to take this data, copy it with Control C. I'm going to go to a new workbook with Control N, and I want to paste special values, which is Control Shift V. That gets rid of that formula, but keeps the item. And then I'll add a heading up here of subject. And then I'm going to save this as a CSV, right? I'm going to take this data over to ChatGPT and ask for them to create categories out of these various items. File, save as, not as an Excel file, but as this one, CSV commented limited. I'll put it where I can easily find it. All right, and they give me this new warning that it's a CSV file, and you know, I just click the X. I want to know that this is a CSV file. I don't want to click Don't Show Again. That's too much. But in this case, I really wanted it to be a CSV, so you know, I just get rid of that. And this is called Pizza Subject Friday. Here in ChatGPT, I'm going to upload the CSV file we just created. And then I have a prompt here that I have used. I'm going to paste that in. Okay, I have a CSV containing marketing email subject lines for a fictional pizza company called Hank's Pizza. Many subject lines are nearly identical, but differ only by cosmetic changes such as emojis, punctuation, capitalization, extra spaces, personalization tokens such as name or recipient first name. Analyze the subject lines and group near duplicates together. For example, like this and this with an emoji should be grouped, but free pizza slice tonight and 2-for-1 pizza tonight should not be grouped. The new CSV is going to have subject line, a clean version of the subject line, and then a duplicate group number, and then from anything, like if there's 8 items that group to category ID 1, give me 1 subject line from the original. And then I ask for fuzzy grouping, so similar subject lines are grouped. Ignore emojis, punctuation, personalization tokens when comparing text. All right, so we press enter, and this is going to take it's going to take a minute. It's looking at 156 different items. So I'll pause the video here until it comes back. Okay, there's our Hank's Pizza fuzzy grouped. It's funny down here, it says, hey, you could have done this with Power Query and formulas. And some other day, maybe we'll do that, but this video is already going to be super long. Okay, so we opened this in Excel, again, the same warning about a CSV file. We had 156 different subject lines that we sent in. How many different category IDs did we get? So equal unique. Count that. Looks like 89. All right, good. So it was able to group things. Now this is where I'm going to throw a human in the loop. And I want to find the ones that it grouped together. So I'm going to call it cat count. So I'll do a count if. Go look through the category IDs, press F4. So how many times does C2 to C157 equal, in this case, the number 4? And double click to copy that down. All right, we're going to sort this whole thing. I want to bring the items with a lot of categories to the top. So this is largest to smallest. And then we'll add a level of category ID. And that's okay, smallest to largest. All right, so here we have 4 things. Don't miss weekend pizza deal, adding the recipient first name, adding the customer name. Right? Yeah, I agree that all 4 of those actually match. And then the next group is category ID 3, late nights. We saved you late night pizza deal. We saved you late night pizza deal. Good. Yeah. And then just kind of go through here and make sure that all of these make sense. If there's something that doesn't make sense, you'd want to put a new category ID in, something like a high number, start at 101 or something like that. And then whichever we're going to use, either the normalized subject or this subject, you want to add in. All right. In real life, the real data, I probably found about 20 that I said, well, they combine that, and I don't think that it should be combined. And so then I broke it out. In this particular case, fake data, cleaner data is going to be good, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to bring, let's say, this normalized subject back into the original data. So I'm going to view, switch windows. This temporary data over here we can get rid of, the sort unique, and come up to the end of our data set and add a category. So this is going to be equal VLOOKUP. Go look up the original subject line, comma, and then I'll use view, switch windows, come back to my CSV file, and we're going to use those two as our lookup table. It already put the dollar signs in because it's an external workbook, and I want the second column, and this time I want exact matches. All right. And double click and copy this down. It's worth it here to make sure that you get no NA errors, right? And the fast way to do that is to do data Z to A. Any NA errors will come to the top, right? And the fact that we didn't get any, that means that we've gotten really far here, and we're now ready to start doing our pivot tables. In fact, we're so far that this is probably a good time to save this workbook, just in case Excel crashes or something like that. We kind of have a point in time where things are working. Now I said to the client, hey, what's more important, the open rate or the click-through rate? And they're like, oh, we want to see them both. And also, they're on a Mac, so I can't use DAX, which would have made this easier. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to create a pivot table that shows total sent, weekdays going across, part of day, time of day going down the left-hand side, and total sent in that little pivot table. And then I want to have another pivot table that shows me opens, another pivot table that shows me clicks. And once I have those three pivot tables, then I can calculate open divided by total sent and clicks divided by total sent to get the open rate and the click-through rate. Now, normally, when we insert a pivot table, they're going to insert a worksheet for us, but I'm going to ask for a worksheet here. So from the sheet, if I hit the plus sign, I'll get a new sheet 8. I'll rename that and call that dash for dashboard. Come back to this original data set, select one cell in the data, insert pivot table. I want to go to an existing worksheet, and I need room at the top for the actual report. These little work tables are going to start down here in A26. Click OK. All right, pivot tables, amazing features. Across the top, I want to show weekday. Down the left-hand side, I want to show time of day. And then for this one, I want to show the total sent. Right, so I get sum of total sent, weekday, and time of day. Now it's possible that you have different defaults, right? And you might be getting design report layout, this compact form where we have the words row labels and column labels. And if you're getting that, come to the design tab, go to report layout, and say show in tabular form so we get real headings at the top. If the underlying data had commas, these would have commas. I really like commas. Even though this is never going to print, I'm still going to come in here and format this home. The number dialog launcher, like that comma adds a comma, but it does a bunch of other things I don't like. So I'm going to come here to the number, say it's just a number with 1,000 separator and 0 decimal places. Click OK. You see that we have sent emails on all 7 days and all 7 day parts. But as we start to drill down later, there's going to be some emails, like the weekend special emails, that are not going to be sent during the week. They might just be Friday or Saturday. And so there's a chance that as we update this pivot table, it's going to change shape. All right. So this, just a shout out to Deborah Dalglish up at Contextures. It was 10 or 12 years ago that Deborah showed me this amazing setting. I had to go look it up again. It's been so long since I've used it. I'm going to come to any one of these weekdays. I'm going to right click and go to field settings. There's 2 tabs here, subtotals and filters. The second tab, layout and print. And I want to always show all 7 days, whether or not we sent any emails or not. So that makes sure that those 7 always appear. And then same thing for time of day. Right click, field settings, go to layout and print, and say show items with no data. If you don't do this, the final report is going to just get all wonky, right? So it's a really important step. The first time I did it, I didn't do it. And I was actually demoing it for the client and chose something that only had a few days and the numbers were all wrong, right? So don't skip this part. And I do it right here after the first pivot table because I'm going to copy this pivot table 2 more times and I want those settings to follow with the pivot table. Okay, so I'm going to take this entire pivot table, I'm going to copy it, Control C, I'm going to go to row 36, there are about 10 rows each with the extra row. I'm going to paste, right? That brings the settings along. Like for example, let me double check it. I'm going to right click, go to field settings, go to the second tab. See it remember that setting because I copied the original pivot table and pasted. So instead of total sent, I'm going to get rid of that. And this is going to be the number of opens. Good. And then we'll take this pivot table, copy it, this time to row 46, and paste. Get rid of unique opens and change to unique clicks. Right? So now down here, I have all the data I need in order to create the actual pivot tables that are going to appear on the report, which is the open rate and the click-through rate. I actually want my final report to look like this, but it's not going to be a pivot table. I'm going to take this pivot table and we'll go up to row 16. I can't paste because then it's going to become a pivot table. But I want to come here and go to paste special, and I'm going to say paste as values and number formats. Click OK. All right, so that's my, this is going to be my click-through rate. And then we'll take that report and go up to row 6. And this will be my open rate. Now, a little bit of formatting here. This is a cool trick that they added long ago back in Excel 2007. Conditional formatting, color scales. It's a little heat map. I like the one with largest numbers in green. And then we'll do the exact same thing here. Conditional formatting, color scales, heat map. Okay, so these numbers are the wrong numbers, but it's the right format. We have all the labels along the left-hand side correct and the weekdays across the top correct. So I'm going to build a formula here that's going to say for open rate, I want to say unique opens. Now, this is going to be a bug. What I need is in B38, but if I click on B38, they're going to insert this get pivot data thing. Right? So don't click on B38. That's bad. So equal B38 divided by the total sent. So that's B28. I'm going to format this as a percentage with probably 1 decimal place. And I'm going to take that formatted formula. I'm going to paste special as formulas and number formats. So last time I used values and number formats. Now I'm going to use formulas and number formats. And so we get to see now our open rate. Those are the actual open rates. Down here, I'm going to use click-through rate, which is going to be in B48 divided by the opens, which is going to be in B28. Again, format as a percentage, 1 decimal place, copy, and paste special as formulas and number formats. All right, so there we go. That is the big, huge overview of, like Saturday. For some reason, if we're sending pizza coupons early morning Saturday, 6 to 8 a.m., people are waking up and who knows why, but there's a lot of opens that are happening at that moment. Now, while I set the print range up, for this, it's actually nice to have these things down here so you can go see, oh, is this just an anomaly? We never send anything from 6 to 8 a.m. It's a really small number. Might not be, a valid number. So it's nice to have these kind of down here that you can come take a look at. Okay, before we get too much further, if we click inside the pivot table on the Analyze tab, we see that this is called Pivot Table 26. I'm going to click in here and rename this one to be, let's call it Piv Sent. And then down here, we'll call this one Piv Open. And then here, Piv Click. All right, good. From there, we have our 3 pivot tables, but I want to be able to filter these so that way I can see it for one particular subject line, one particular category, or one particular campaign. So I'm going to take this pivot table and make a copy of it up in K1. I know it'd be really nice to have these filters up here in A, but the subject lines are so long we have to put it off to the side. I really don't like that, but that's just the way it goes. So I'm going to start with, what do we have? Campaign first, campaign name, and I'm going to drag it to the filters field like that. All right, now these, especially when we get to subject line, these are really wide. So I'm going to take column L, and I'm going to make it be wider so I can see the entire subject line in there. And there's a very annoying pivot table setting. If we go to pivot table analyze options, called AutoFit column widths on updates, and it's going to be constantly changing the column widths out here. I really want these column widths to stay where they are. So for this pivot table, I'm unchecking AutoFit column widths on update, and then I'm going to make another filter right below it that will be by the category. That's the category we added in with artificial intelligence. So I add category here and remove campaign name. So now I can choose by category, and then we'll copy that. And finally, by subject line. So I'll drag subject line here. By the way, it's really important that you add the new subject line in before you remove the old item from the filters. When you have a pivot table without filters, they treat it differently, and you start getting spill errors. So just in the few times that I've gone through this, I've learned that just has to be done in that sequence, right? And again, I'm going to rename these. So this is going to be called Hello Filter by Campaign. And then this one will be called Filter Category. And then Filter Subject. All right. Okay, so right now I have a total of 6 pivot tables that all need to stay in sync. If I would choose a particular campaign name, I want these 3 pivot tables to react to that as well. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this pivot table, any one pivot table actually, and either on the Insert tab, we can Insert Slicer, or on the Analyze tab, you can choose Insert Slicer. I don't know why I always go to this one on the Insert tab. They're identical, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to add 3 slicers for category, campaign name, and subject. We'll click OK. They show up right here. It's funny, we're never going to use these slicers, but they have to exist. So we're just going to drag them far out to the right where no one's ever going to see them. All right, and then here's the awesome thing. We select one slicer. We get a slicer item in the ribbon, and over here on the left-hand side is something called Report Connections. And I need this slicer to be connected to all 6 existing pivot tables. So right now you see that it's just set to filter campaign, and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And this is actually why I renamed these, so I know what I'm hooking up to what. All right, so that's the category slicer. For campaign name, I'm going to Report Connections. See, we have to hook them up again. It'd be nice if I could resize this. Oh, look at that, I can resize this, perfect. Click OK, and then here under Subject, Report Connections. That's weird, I don't have the 3 dots. I wonder if a lot more stuff is resizable. I'm always looking for the 3 dots to resize. Okay, so now I've hooked up all 3 pivot tables down here and all 3 pivot tables here to these slicers. Slicers are amazing because they allow you to tie multiple pivot tables together on a dashboard, which is basically what we're doing. All right, so let's just come in here and go to and see there's the 3 dots that I'm usually looking for. So we'll make this wider. We can search for one specific item. So special offer, cheese, pizza special. Oh, look at that. See that? Those two really should be the same. Oh, yeah, and hopefully with category they are. Special offer, cheese, pizza. Let's see. Special offer. That was customer special offer. Yeah, there we are. So like that should get a couple of different subject lines with the colon and without. All right. Oh, good. Okay. This is going to be easy to fix. So anything here that has a number, we've actually sent something in that category at that weekday and time. All right. But those division by zero errors are pretty ugly. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to edit this formula and say if error like that, open parenthesis. So if that ends up in a division by zero, I just want to show nothing. So quote, quote, that should be a comma, quote, quote, close paren. And again, I will paste special formulas. Good. And then I'll do the same thing here. I won't copy it in, but I'll type if error, quote, quote, copy and paste special formulas. All right, good. So now we're getting our report without the ugly division by zero errors. All right. Hey, we're practically there. This little title formula up here is going to be built in 4 parts actually. So go look over here at this filter in L1, and if it's parentheses all, then that means we're choosing all campaigns, and I don't want to report anything about campaigns. So quote, quote. But if it's anything else other than all, then I want to put the word campaign, colon, space, and concatenate in L1. All right, so that gets me the campaign name if they've chosen it. I'm going to choose that whole thing in formula edit mode, and I'm going to put ampersand. I'll paste it again. This time I'm going to look in L3, and this time it'll be called category. And change this to L3. And then another ampersand. And if L5 is equal to all, then subject and L5. Now it's possible that they would just leave all 3 of those at all, and then we would have a blank title, right? Like right now, this is pretty cool. It's gonna show whatever is selected, but if it's all for all 3, then the title just goes away. So we need to handle that particular case. So ampersand if all of these things are true, if L1 is equal to all and L1 equals L3 and L1 equals L5, if that's true, then say all items. Otherwise, quote, quote. Right here, I need a closing parentheses at the end of that and. So we're checking to see if all three things are true. If L1 says all, L3 says the same thing as L1, L5 says the same thing as L1, then put all items. All right, there we go. Nice little cell style here. So we have, when we print this, I'm going to set my print range, page layout, print area, set print area, go to landscape, margins narrow. All right, now no matter what we choose over here, we'll have a report of it, and when we print, it will show the 2 items that we care about, the open rate and the click-through rate. All right, another little feature, so let's say we find something super interesting. We want to find out what's happening on those particular days. If we come back to the pivot table, any of these pivot tables, and go to the grand total row, grand total column, on the pivot table analyze, there's this great thing called show details, which we can also get to by double clicking. So I had a little note here, double click here for details. We'll double click, and that will get us all of the original detail records that match the filters, right? So out of that 2200 original, there were 46, and we can do a deep dive here and look at the numbers, and your manager comes to you and says, hey, what happened to this? Right click, we can delete that or leave it there. You can drill down as many different times as you want. So the double click here for details is a cool little feature. It is possible, starting in Excel 2007, to come in here and say select multiple items. So if we want to look at everything that is claim your pepperoni special and claim your cheese pizza special, like those two are kind of related. The frustrating thing is when we do that and select multiple items, it's horrible because they just show us multiple items, which I despise. I despise this multiple items. I actually had a conversation with a guy at Microsoft that did this. I said, this is not helpful. Why can't you just put both items there? He's like, well, what if they choose 99 items? I said, well, then we won't really be able to see it, will we? But when they choose 2, it'll be helpful. But I lost that fight. And then they gave us slicers, so in theory, from the slicers over there, we could see what's happening. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one last pivot table, a 7th pivot table. I'll just put it over here. And in this pivot table, I'm going to show you what is selected. So we'll get rid of the filters here, but I want to show the campaign name, I want to show the category, and I want to show the subject. All right, so we see the campaign, the category, and subject. And this is actually one where it'd be better to have it back in compact layout. So on the design tab, report layout, showing compact form. And then up here I can just say, this is a report of selected subject lines. And we can move these slicers even further out here to the right. Right, so if you happen to get into the multiple items area, you can come out there to the right to see what actually is selected. And just an abundance of caution, I'm sure that this is set up correctly, but I'm going to choose this 7th pivot table. We'll come here and we'll call it piv details. And I'm going to go to filter connections and make sure that this is hooked up to all 3 of the slicers, and it is. The other optional thing you can do here is get a list of which campaigns have been the most popular, which categories, and which subject lines have been the most popular. This is a great little function that came along recently called GroupBy. And so for each campaign, that's the row field, comma, I want to count the number of items. So I just go back, for the values, I actually go back to the exact same field, comma, and then the function is going to be count A. Field header is yes and show, so I put a 3 there. Total depth, I want no totals, so 0. And then sort order. This is going to give me 2 columns. The left column is going to be campaign name. The right column is going to be the count. So I'm going to sort by that second column in descending sequence. So in this case, the 2 means I want to sort by the second column. The -2 means sort descending. And so like those are the most popular campaigns. Over here, to get the most popular subject lines, very similar formula, but I'm using column A instead. And then the one that's kind of cool, this is, I've used GroupBy a lot, and I know that you can H-stack multiple things, so I'm putting the count in there, but I'm also doing a lambda to count the unique, so to get a distinct count. So how many different subjects are in that category. And in this case, I sorted by the 3rd column. It might be more interesting to sort by the 2nd column, I'm not really sure. So that little section there just helps you, identify which items. I don't know. -2, -3. Like this is the exclusive one slice tonight. Seems to be Hank's go-to email that he sends a lot, 582 times. So almost a quarter have been that, right? So a nice little section there. All right. So hey, this insanely long video. But I think it's a cool way, and definitely anyone that has this data from SalesForce should be a report that you should be able to get, and really kind of give you a good overview of when the best time to send your emails is, right, and just which open rate and click-through rate. Now the person I was talking to here said it would really be nice to know when they opened, which is in a second report. But that's far more details. And my argument is I really don't care when they open it. It's just did they open it? So did it arrive? Did they open it? Did they click? Like just being at the top of the inbox at a certain time. was useful. So there you go. Hey, I want to thank you for stopping by. We'll see you next time for another netcast from Mr. Excel.